In the year 1513 BC, the sun set over the Giza plateau, casting long shadows against structures that were, even then, ancient mysteries. To the Greeks who would arrive centuries later, they were miracles. To the Romans, they were trophies. And to us, in the modern world, they are tombs. That is the story we have been told. That is the safe version of history. We are taught that these mountains of stone were built by primitive tools, copper chisels, and sheer brute force, solely to house the dead bodies of megalomaniacal kings. But there is a glitch in this narrative. A glitch that becomes impossible to ignore once you look closer. If the Great Pyramid is merely a tomb, why has no mummy ever been found inside it? Why are there no hieroglyphs, no inscriptions, no boasts of a pharaoh's deeds on its original walls? And why does the structure contain 4 narrow shafts, pointed with laser-like precision at specific stars? Sirius, Orion, Thuban if the dead cannot see the sky. Welcome to the Glitch Files. Today, we are not just looking at the stones. We are looking at the invisible machine inside the stones. For thousands of years, a parallel history has existed in the shadows. From the writings of the Greek historian Herodotus to the Coptic legends of the Middle Ages, stories have persisted of secret schools. These were not public institutions. They were hidden orders operating deep beneath the temples of Karnak, Luxor, and beneath the Giza plateau itself. The legends say that the pharaohs were not just rulers, they were initiates. They were students of a high science that fused architecture, astronomy, acoustics, and consciousness into a single, terrifyingly powerful technology. We usually dismiss these stories as myths. But what if we told you that modern science is finally catching up? In 2017, the Scan Pyramids project, a team of international physicists used cosmic ray muon radiography to scan the Great Pyramid. It is non-invasive technology, similar to an X-ray, but for stone. They found something that shook the archaeological world, a massive void space, at least 30 meters long, hidden above the Grand Gallery. It had been sealed since the pyramid was built, 4,500 years ago. Why hide a void that big? And in 2025, near the ancient city of Abydos, the burial center of the god Osiris, archaeologists uncovered a complex that defies standard explanation. Not just a tomb, but a processing center. These discoveries force us to ask a dangerous question. What if the ancient Egyptians didn't build these structures to preserve the dead, but to activate the living? What if the School of Mysteries wasn't a metaphor, but a physical place where human beings were trained to unlock capabilities that we, today, have completely forgotten? To understand this, we must go back, before the Greeks, before the Romans, back to a time when magic was considered a branch of physics, and the human soul was seen as a vehicle that could be engineered. Imagine you are a candidate for the priesthood in Thebes. 3,000 years ago, you are not chosen for your wealth. You are chosen for your mental resilience. The training you are about to undergo is not about memorizing texts. It is about breaking the barrier between your conscious mind and your subconscious reality. The ancient texts describe a process of initiation that took years, sometimes decades. It began with the discipline of silence. For months, a student was forbidden to speak.
The sound is overwhelming.
They had to learn to listen not to others, but to the noise inside their own heads. They had to tame the chaos of their own thoughts. This was the first step in tuning the human instrument. But silence was easy compared to what came next, the test of fear. Underneath the step, Pyramid of Saqqara, Archaeologists have mapped a labyrinth of tunnels extending for over 5 kilometers. It is a nightmare of engineering. Dead ends, false doors, vertical drops into darkness. For years, historians assumed these were to deter tomb robbers, but new theories suggest a different purpose. Imagine being lowered into this absolute darkness, alone, with a single oil lamp. Then, the lamp is extinguished. You are told to find your way out. There is no map. There is no help. In that sensory deprivation, the mind begins to hallucinate. Panic sets in. The demons of the mind manifest as physical terrors. The initiate had to navigate this labyrinth not by sight, but by intuition, by sensing the airflow, the vibration of the walls, the subtle shifts in the environment. It was a brutal training method designed to force the consciousness to expand beyond the 5 physical senses. If you panicked, you failed, or worse, you died in the dark. This aligns perfectly with what we know of the mystery schools. The curriculum was divided into 2 paths: the eye of Horus, the left eye, and the eye of Ra, the right eye. The left eye represented the feminine, the emotional, the spiritual exploration of chaos. The right eye represented the masculine, the mathematical, the logical order, to become a high priest or a master of secrets. One had to master both. You had to be a mathematician capable of calculating the precession of the stars, and a mystic capable of navigating the terror of the underworld. Why such extreme training? Because the Egyptians believed the universe was teeming with invisible forces they called Neteru. We translate this word as gods, but a better translation might be principles of nature or cosmic functions. To communicate with these forces, the human mind had to be upgraded. It had to be stronger than the fear of death itself. This is where the concept of the glitch truly begins. We look at their art, their animal-headed gods, and we see primitive superstition. But what if those images were not literal? What if they were a complex code? A psychological language designed to trigger specific states of consciousness. Dr. Jeremy Nadler, a philosopher and historian of ancient religious life, argues that the pyramid texts are not just funeral prayers. They are shamanic instruction manuals. They describe the sensation of the soul leaving the body, the shaking, the fire, the sudden expansion of light. They were not describing death. They were describing a controlled out-of-body experience. To understand how they did this, we have to look at their software, their understanding of the human soul. In the West, we have a simple concept: body and soul, 2 parts. The Egyptians had a far more sophisticated model. They believed the human being was a composite of 9 distinct parts. There was the Khat, the physical body; the Ka, the vital spark or energy double; the Ba, the personality; the part that travels; the Shut, the shadow; the Ren, the name; and the Ak, the immortal, illuminated spirit, among others. The secret training was focused on the Ka and the Ba. The Ka was seen as a battery. It needed to be charged. The Ba was the bird, the vehicle that could fly between worlds. The goal of the initiate was to separate the Ba from the Khat body without breaking the connection, allowing them to travel into the Duat and return with information. This brings us to a radical reinterpretation of mummification. We are told mummification was about preserving the corpse for a physical resurrection. But look at the materials they used: gold, crystal, resin, linen wrapped in specific geometric patterns. Some fringe researchers and materials scientists have pointed out that a mummy wrapped in layers of organic linen resin and inorganic gold amulet/jewelry material structurally resembles a capacitor, a device used to store electrical energy. Was the mummified body meant to be a literal anchor, a frequency holder? The ritual of the opening of the mouth takes on a new meaning here. In this ceremony, the priest would touch the mummy's face with a strange, forked tool made of meteoric iron. They recited spells to restore the senses. Orthodox Egyptologists say this was symbolic, but let's look at it through the lens of the glitch. Meteoric iron is magnetic. It comes from the stars. They were using a magnetic tool to touch the sensory centers of a preserved vessel. Was this a technology to lock the frequency of the soul to the body, ensuring the traveler could always find their way back? But before any of this could happen, before the travel, before the magic, the initiate had to master the physical vessel. They had to master the art of absolute, unwavering stillness. The Egyptians understood a fundamental truth that modern neuroscience is just rediscovering. You cannot access higher states of consciousness if your body is stressed, tired, or distracted. To leave the body must first be put into a state of deep, suspended animation. They used stone chambers to block out the world. Today, we don't have access to the king's chamber. We live in a world of constant noise, blue light, and interruption. We have lost the ability to simply stop. Sponsor segment. But we have technology designed to help us reclaim that lost state. This episode is sponsored by Manta Sleep, creators of the Manta Sound Sleep Mask. If you've ever tried to meditate or sleep, you know that the smallest distraction, a street lamp outside, a notification on your phone, can break the spell. The Egyptians built walls of granite to solve this. Manta Sleep has built the Manta Sound. This is not just a sleep mask. It is a personal sensory deprivation environment. It offers 100% blackout. I mean true blackout. The eye cups are C-shaped, meaning they put zero pressure on your eyelids, allowing for REM sleep, the state where dreaming and visualization happen. But the glitch feature here is the integrated audio. Ultra-thin Bluetooth speakers are hidden inside the strap. They are comfortable enough to sleep on your side. This allows you to stream brainwave entrainment tracks, binaural beats, or ambient frequencies directly into your ears while cutting out the visual world. It creates a cocoon of focus. Whether you are trying to lucid dream, meditate, or just get the deep restorative sleep that modern life steals from you, this mask is the tool. It's the closest thing you can get to a portable king's chamber. Go to Manta Sleep, calm, and use our code SECRET10 for 10% off. Reclaim the stillness. Now, back to the mystery. Once the body was stilled, the real work began. And the primary tool of the Egyptian secret schools was sound. We often look at the pyramids as visual monuments, but the latest research suggests they were actually acoustic instruments. In the 1990s, acoustic engineer Tom Danley carried out tests inside the Great Pyramid. He discovered that the king's chamber resonates at specific low frequencies. But more importantly, the granite sarcophagus inside the chamber acts like a bell. When struck, or when a specific tone is vocalized, the granite resonates. This is where physics meets metaphysics. The king's chamber is built entirely of red granite from Aswan. Granite is filled with quartz crystals. When you put pressure or vibration on quartz, it creates an electrical charge. This is called the piezoelectric effect. It is the same principle used in watches and radios. So, imagine this scenario. An initiate lies in the granite sarcophagus. A choir of priests stands in the chamber, chanting a steady, rhythmic low tone. The sound waves hit the granite walls. The walls vibrate. The quartz inside the granite generates an electromagnetic field. The sarcophagus creates a contained acoustic environment. The initiate is bathed in this field, Research by the Princeton Engineering Anomalies, Research Pierre Lab, and other acoustic archaeologists like Paul Devereaux has shown that at 110 Hz to 117 Hz, something strange happens to the human brain. The activity in the left temporal lobe, the part of the brain responsible for language and logical analysis, begins to shut down. Meanwhile, the right temporal lobe associated with emotion, intuition, and visualization becomes hyperactive. At 117 Hz, the brain switches modes. Was the King's Chamber a machine designed to induce this state? A stargate, not for the body, but for the consciousness. This theory gains weight when we look at the Serapeum at Saqqara. This is an underground complex containing 24 massive granite boxes, each weighing up to 100 tons. Mainstream history says these were coffins for Apis bulls. Yet, when they were opened, they were empty. No bulls, no bones, just empty, polished granite boxes. The precision of these boxes is laser sharp. The inside corners are perfectly square. Why build a 100-ton precision-engineered box for a dead bull? Or were they resonance chambers? Were they isolation tanks for the initiates of the highest order? If you lie inside one of these boxes and hum, the resonance is overwhelming. It rattles your bones. It is possible that these were the teleportation booths of the ancient world, not for the body, but for the Ba, the soul traveler. This brings us to the controversial topic of astral projection or remote viewing. During the Cold War, the U.S. CIA ran a top-secret program called Project Stargate. They trained soldiers and psychics to view locations on the other side of the world using only their minds. Declassified documents show that their success rates were statistically significant, far higher than chance. The techniques the CIA used involved deep relaxation, specific coordinates, and a lowering of brainwave frequency to the theta state. It sounds exactly like what was happening in the King's Chamber. Did the Egyptians figure this out 5,000 years ago? Did they use this spiritual internet to gather knowledge, to communicate across distances, or even, as some texts suggest, to communicate with intelligence not from this earth? This leads us to the final, and perhaps most disturbing, realization. If the Egyptians possessed this high science of acoustics, neuroengineering, and geology, where did they learn it? The standard model of history says civilization is a linear progression. We started as cavemen, then farmers, then builders, and now we have iPhones. We get smarter every century. But Egypt contradicts this. The Great Pyramid is the oldest of the Giza pyramids, and it is the most perfect. The later pyramids, built centuries afterwards, are smaller, shoddier, and crumbling. The art of the Old Kingdom is superior to the art of the later periods. In Egypt, the technology seemed to decline over time, not improve. It started at a peak of perfection and slowly degraded. This suggests that the secret schools were not inventing this knowledge. They were protecting it. They were the custodians of a legacy that was already ancient. The Egyptians themselves admitted this. They spoke of a time called Zep Tepi, the first time. They described a golden age when gods ruled the earth, a civilization that existed before the Great Flood. Before the timeline of history we know, was the secret school actually a lifeboat, a system designed to preserve the wisdom of a lost civilization, perhaps Atlantis, or a forgotten global culture that was wiped out by a cataclysm 12,000 years ago? Legend speaks of the Book of Thoth, a text that contained the ultimate keys to this knowledge. It was said to be hidden in a secret chamber, protected by magic. Some say it is buried beneath the paws of the Sphinx. Others say it was taken to the Library of Alexandria and burned. But maybe it wasn't burned. Maybe the book isn't a physical object at all. Maybe the Book of Thoth is encoded in the architecture itself, in the frequency of the stones, in the geometry of the walls, waiting for a consciousness developed enough to read it. So, as we look at the ruins of Egypt today, we shouldn't just see a graveyard. We should see a university that has been closed for thousands of years. Its professors gone, its library scattered, but the machinery is still there. The question is not, how did they build it? The question is, why have we forgotten what it was for? Are we the advanced civilization we think we are? Or are we a species suffering from amnesia, walking through the ruins of giants, oblivious to the power that lies dormant in the stone and in our own minds? The secret schools may be gone, but the entrance to the Duat might still be open. We want to know what you think. Is astral projection a lost science or a myth? Could you survive the test of the labyrinth? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to join us in uncovering more glitches in our history, make sure you are subscribed. Turn on notifications, because the file is never truly closed. Until next time.